The Oxford Dictionary defines time as the indefinite continued progress of existence and events. Interestingly, the sense of time's passage that people experience only come into existence after the invention of the clock and calendar. We know this because this sense of time's passage is in recognition of the device's units of measurement. And also, in cultures where clocks and calendars don't exist, neither does time, such as with the Amendawa tribe in the Amazon rainforest. As an article stated, they understand events and sequencing of events, but don't have a notion of time as something events occur in. They don't have clocks or calendars and don't even have a word for time in their language. So, what is time? Is it a fourth dimension, as posited by Albert Einstein in 1906 with his theory of special relativity? Or is it an illusion, as many are starting to recognize, including some renowned physicists such as Ravelli, Barber, Sorley and Fiscaletti, to mention a few? What time actually is a phenomenon that arose after the invention of the clock and calendar. This phenomenon was deemed to be responsible for the progress of events, as the Oxford Dictionary stated at the outset. It was in 700 BCE in Greece that the word time, or chronos in that part of the world, was coined to label the phenomenon that's now known as the passage of time. The thing is, there's quite a naive implication if time is an actual structure of the universe, because it would mean that thousands of years ago someone put a stick in the ground to track the day's passage and inadvertently accessed some fourth dimension. There was an actual discovery made, but it wasn't realized, and wouldn't be for another 2200 years after the word time was coined, when Nicholas Copernicus discovered Earth's rotations. It was only then realized that clocks and calendars were synchronized to Earth's rotations and not the moving sun, as was previously believed. What happened was, the devices gave us a more specific awareness of the day and year's passage, and the effect this had caused mankind to recognize that the devices were in sync with not only the moving sun, as it was then believed, but also something else that's responsible for an event's progress. But it wasn't realized that it was the rotations that the devices were in sync with, and it was instead attributed to an unknown force and was called the passage of time. There are striking similarities between time and the rotations. For example, as time is perceived as a causal factor of an event's progress, Earth's rotations do cause the passage of the day and year, which are the two main events in which every other event experienced by mankind happens. Then there's how time is regarded as something of a mystery, and the rotations were a mystery for all of history until Copernicus's discovery. And finally, how the devices started to be perceived as synchronized to not only the moving sun, as was believed then, but also time's passage, which was deemed as responsible for all motion, including the sun's. Well, that was, as we now know, Earth's rotations, and on two counts, by being what the devices are actually synchronized to, and by creating the illusion of the moving sun. One could argue that when the discovery of the rotations was made, why wasn't it realized that it was just the rotations all along and not time? The reason for this is because by that stage in history, time was hardwired into humanity's brains and the connection wasn't made. What also shows that time is foreign to nature is the change in the original meaning of terms. Take duration and moment, for example. Duration is now defined as the time during which something continues, but its etymology is event-based, as it comes from the Latin durare, meaning to last, like how long something will last, such as the passage of the day and year at 24 hours and 365 days, which are measurements of the duration of these rotation events and not a duration of time. Moment is now defined as a very brief period of time, but originally it comes from the Latin momentum, which means the impetus gained by a moving object, which means moment's origin is also event-based and therefore should be defined as a very brief period of an event. And just to clarify, period is also event-based, cyclical in its origins. If we consider the phrase "in the time to come," it can also be rendered "in the days to come" or "in the years to come." And as the day and the year are a product of Earth's rotations, then technically "in the time to come" actually means "in the rotations to come." Therefore, by tracking the illusion of the moving sun, mankind discovered the truth of Earth's rotations, but they didn't realize it and attributed it to an unknown force and called it the passage of time. But that was just an illusion. It was the passage of Earth's rotations all along.